Hello everyone. So last time we discussed about circle, wherein the circle is a set of all points equidistant from a fixed point called center. And today I'm going to show you how to solve problems involving parabola. So as shown in the figure, the definition of parabola says that point P on the parabola is equidistant from F and from PJ, which is the point on the line D such that PJ is perpendicular to D. Thus, it provides us with equation the absolute value from P to F is equal to the absolute value from P to J. And that is the definition of the parabola as illustrates in the given figure. So this one is the standard form of the parabola. Parabola with the vertex at 0 and 0. So if the parabola opens to the right, then the equation is y squared equals 4cx, while if the parabola opens to the left, then the equation is y squared equals negative 4cx. And if the parabola opens upward, then the equation is x squared equals 4cy, while if the parabola opens downward, then the equation is x squared equals negative 4cy. And that is the parabola with vertex at 0 and 0. While if the parabola has vertex at h and k, then the equation of the parabola opens to the right is y minus k squared equals 4c times x minus h. And if the parabola opens to the left, then the equation is y minus k squared equals negative 4c times x minus h. While if the parabola opens upward with center h and k, then the equation is x minus h squared equals 4c times y minus k. And the parabola opens downward, x minus h squared equals negative 4c times y minus k. And that is the parabola written in standard form. Next is the general form of the parabola. Parabola with horizontal axis, that is y squared plus dx plus ey plus f equals 0. D, E, and F are constants. And parabola with vertical axis, we have x squared plus dx plus ey plus f equals 0. So again, D, E, and F are constants, and that is written in general form. So next is I'm going to show you how to solve problems about parabola. So examples, determine the vertex, focus, and directrix and the axis of symmetry of the following. 1. X squared equals 8y. So let's try to solve. One of the best ways to solve this problem is to graph the given equation. So we have x squared equals 8y. This equation is written in standard form, particularly x squared equals 4cy, that is opens upward. So in our example, our 4c equals 8. We have to solve for c by dividing both sides of the equation by 4. That means c equals 2. So to determine the vertex, focus, directrix, and the axis of symmetry, we have to graph the given equation. So we have x squared equals 8y. That means the vertex is at the point of origin. So we have vertex 0 and 0. Now to determine the focus, we have to plot the given equation. So we have c equals 2. So from the vertex, since the equation is opens upward, from the vertex we're going to count 2 units upward. So 1, 2, and that is the focus. That means the focus is 0 and 2. And from the vertex we're going to count 2 units downward to determine the directrix. So 1, 2. That means this is our directrix with equation y equals negative 2. And then the axis of symmetry is this one. So this is the axis of symmetry. And then to plot the given equation, we have to determine the latus rectum. How do we find the latus rectum? The latus rectum is given by 2c. That means we have to multiply c by 2. So we have 2 times 2 equals 4. So from focus, we're going to count 4 units to the right and 4 units to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and this point 1, 2, 3, 4. That means the parabola looks like this. So we have directrix y equals -2. The axis of symmetry is this line. That means x equals 0. The focus is 0 and 2. The vertex is 0 and 0. Another example is y squared equals -8y. So by looking at the given example, it's definitely parabola opens to the left. So to determine the vertex, focus, directrix, and the axis of symmetry, we have to plot again the given equation. So the vertex is at the point of origin 0 and 0. So that means our 4c is equal to -8. To solve for c, let's divide both sides by 4. That means c equals 2 or -2. So to graph, we have vertex that is 0 and 0, and since the equation is opens to the left, then from the vertex we're going to count 2 units to the left. So 1, 2, and that is the focus. The focus is -2 and 0, and then the same units going to the right to determine the directrix. So 1, 2, and that is the directrix, that is x equals 2. That is directrix. Next is the axis of symmetry is this line. That is the axis of symmetry. Next is to graph the given equation. We have to determine again the latus rectum, that is multiply 2 by 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. That means the graph of y squared equals -8y looks like this. So we have the parabola opens to the left. For example, is x plus 3 squared equals -12 times y minus 3. -12 implies that the graph of the given equation opens downward. So we have x minus h squared equals -4c times y minus k. That means h is -3 and k is +3. So we have now the vertex. To determine the focus, directrix, and the axis of symmetry, we have to solve for c. So we have -4c equals -12. So divide both sides by -4. That means c equals 3. So the vertex is -3, 1, 2, 3, and +3. So the equation of the parabola implies that it is opens downward. So from the center, we're going to count 3 units downward. 1, 2, 3, and that is the focus given by -3 and 0. And the same units upward to determine the directrix. So 1, 2, and 3, and that is directrix. And this equation is given by y equals 6. So from the focus, we're going to determine the latus rectum. So latus rectum is given by 2c. That means 2 times 3 equals 6. So from the focus, count 6 units to the right and 6 units to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the graph looks like this, with the axis of symmetry x equals -3. Our example, y minus 1 squared equals 4 times x plus 2. So 4 is positive. It means that the parabola opens to the right. So we have y minus k squared equals 4c times x minus h. So we have the vertex h, that is negative 2, and k is positive 1. So to determine again the focus, directrix, and the axis of symmetry, we have to solve for c. So we have 4c equals 4. That means c equals 1. So let's try to determine the focus, directrix, and the axis of symmetry. Vertex negative 2 and positive 1. So this is our vertex. From the vertex, we're going to count 1 unit to the right to determine the focus. So 1. That means the focus is negative 1 and positive 1. And to determine the directrix, we're going to count 1 unit to the left. So 1. That means directrix is given by the equation x equals negative 3. And then the axis of symmetry is this line. So to graph the given equation, we have to determine the latus rectum. So c equals 1, that means latus rectum is given by 2 times 1, that is equal to 2. So from the focus, we're going to count 2 units upward and 2 units downward. 1, 2, 1, 2. So we have the parabola looks like this. Our example is x squared plus 8x minus 8y plus 30 equals 0. So the given equation is written in general form. So one way to determine the vertex, focus, directrix, and axis of symmetry is to transform first general form into standard form. So transpose negative 8y plus 32 to the right side of the equation will become x squared plus 8x equals negative, it will become positive. So we have 8y minus 32. And by completing the square, divide 8 by 2, become x squared plus 8x. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 times 4 equals 16 equals 8y. We have to add 16 to the right side of the equation to become minus 32 plus 16. So we have x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals 8y minus 16. So we're going to factor out 8 will become x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals 8 times 8y divided by 8 is y. Negative 16 divided by 8 is negative 2. But this equation is perfect square trinomial. It can be written as x plus 4 squared equals 8 times y minus 2. And this is now the standard form of the given equation. And the equation implies that the parabola opens upward because 8 is positive. So in order for us to determine the focus, directrix, vertex, and the axis of symmetry, we have to solve for c. But first, we're going to determine the vertex, that is h and k. H is negative 4 and k is positive 2. So let's try to solve for 4c equals 8. Divide both sides by 4. That means c equals 2. Okay, so center is negative 4 and positive 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and positive 2. So again, the parabola opens upward. From the center, we're going to count 2 units upward to determine the focus. So 1, 2, and that is the focus given by f, that is negative 4 and positive 4. And from the vertex, we're going to count 2 units downward to determine the directrix. So 1, 2, that means this line is the directrix. And that is given by y equals 0. So from the focus, we're going to count 4 units, that is the latus rectum. 2 times 2 equals 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. So the equation or the graphs looks like this. Another example is y squared minus 2y minus 8x plus 17 equals 0. So the given equation is written in general form, so we have to transform it in standard form. We are going to transpose negative 8x plus 17 to the right side of the equation. It will become y squared minus 2y equals 8x minus 17. And then by completing the square, divide negative 2 by 2 to become y squared minus 2y. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1 times 1 equals positive 1. So plus 1 equals 8x minus 17 plus 1. So y squared minus 2y plus 1 equals 8x minus 16. And if we're going to factor out 8, the equation becomes y squared minus 2y plus 1 equals 8 times 8x divided by 8 is x, negative 16 divided by 8 is negative 2. But this equation is perfect square trinomial. It can be written as y minus 1 squared equals 8 times x minus 2, and this is now the standard form. And the equation implies that the parabola opens to the right because 8 is positive. So we have the vertex h is positive 2 and k is positive 1. So to determine the focus, directrix, and the axis of symmetry, we have to solve for c. That means 4c equals 8. Divide both sides by 4. C equals 2. Then try to graph. We have positive 2 and positive 1. And this is our vertex. And again, the equation implies that the parabola opens to the right. So from the vertex, we're going to count 2 units to the right to determine the focus. 1, 2, and that is the focus given by f. That is 4 and positive 1. And from the vertex, we're going to count the same unit as the focus to the left to determine the directrix. So 1, 2, that means this is the directrix that is given by x equals 0. Directrix is x equals 0. And then this is our axis of symmetry, that is y equals positive 1. And from the focus, we're going to determine the latus rectum, that is given by 2 times 2. C is 2. We're going to multiply it by 2. The answer is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That means the graph of the parabola looks like this. For the last example, find the equation of the parabola satisfying the given condition. Vertex at 3 and 2 and the focus at 3 and 5. So in order for us to determine the equation, of course we have to plot it on the Cartesian plane. So the vertex is at 3 and 2 and the focus is 3 and 5. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So as we can see, the focus is above the vertex. It implies that the parabola opens upward. So how do we determine the c? C is simply the distance from vertex up to focus, and that is 1, 2, 3. And the directrix is the same unit from vertex downward, 1, 2, 3. So we have directrix that is x equals or y equals negative 1. So the parabola looks like this, and the axis of symmetry is 3 times 2, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the equation or the graph of the parabola looks like this. But the question is, what is the equation of the parabola? It is opens upward, and since the center is at h and k, particularly 3 and 2, that means x minus 3 squared equals 4 times 3. times y minus 2. So x minus 3 squared equals 4 times 3 equals 12 times y minus 2. And this equation is written in standard form. The given equation is written in standard form. Now, if you want to determine the general form, you only have to do is just expand the given equation. It will become x times x equals x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x times 2 negative 6x. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9 equals 12 times y is 12y. 12 times negative 2 is negative 24. Next step is transpose 12y minus 24 to the left side. It will become x squared minus 6x plus 9 minus 12y plus 24 equals 0. Then x squared minus 6x minus 12y, 9 plus 24 is 33 equals 0. And that is the general formula. And that's all for today. I hope you learned something from our topic, that is parabola. See you next video.